Hi, everyone. We are back. We're back with episode 1745 of our Cabral HouseCalls, the weekend edition of the Cabral concept, answering your questions each and every weekend. Looking forward to being able to answer at least a half a dozen today from our community, our global community. That means people from all over the world interested in improving their overall health, their wellness, weight loss-based goals, muscle-based goals, anti-aging, and of course, everything in between. So really excited to be able to do this weekend show for you. It's now 5 years in the running where we've been answering thousands upon thousands of our community's questions, and couldn't be more grateful to our community for tuning in each and every weekend, listening to see what answers may be in store for you, friends, family, loved ones. Remember, it's not always about kind of figuring out the answers maybe for yourself, but listening for other potential solutions for issues that someone else in your life might be suffering from. So that's why we do it. Remember, you're going to come across someone else in your life right now that needs your help. They need the information that hopefully we're able to share with you here on the Cabral concept on a daily basis. It's a little late in the evening now as I'm recording this show for you, but looking forward to getting started. And right out of the gates with our first question is Marco. Marco's question is coming in from 10/9. It's coming in from October 9th. So this looks like, well, we're about 5-6 weeks behind in getting to your questions. That is fairly normal for us. And again, if your question came in before October 9th, it has already been answered. And you'll be able to find that at stephencabral.com/podcasts. For all of today's questions, if you want to read along, head on over to stephencabral.com/1745. All right, let's dive into the show today. Marco is our first question. I'm going to take a little sip of tea and we'll get started. All right, Marco says, hi there. You usually say that if an individual is getting a tan, that it means it is not necessary to supplement with vitamin D. Let's say I go overseas and I get really tan and dark after 7 days. Once I come back home, winter, the tan still lasts for a month or two. Does this mean that I don't need to supplement with vitamin D for as long as I have a tan? I hope my question makes sense. Marco, thanks for writing in. Your question makes total sense, and it's interesting. And I actually learned this very specific thing from my mentor many years ago now. How long ago? 15 years ago. So here's the thing. Vitamin D being a fat-soluble vitamin, and it is able to be stored. Again, that's why we don't want to overdo vitamin D or A or K or E because it can become toxic. But you're not going to get a toxic amount from getting a normal amount from the sun, that's for sure. And doing 4,000, 5,000 IUs for most people per day is not going to be a huge issue. It's when we start doing 10,000 IUs or more every day, or even just like some people doing 50,000 a week, not a great idea, again, unless you're under medical supervision. So what I would say is typically from my clinical perspective, vitamin D from a tan does seem to last about a month, like as long as kind of that tan lasts. Now, there's no way to know for sure though. Like meaning I can't tell you how long it's going to last. And yes, it will begin to dip every week. So the only way that you know is to lab test. And again, you can run, like we do a vitamin D, we might even do a separate vitamin D test now. You'd have to go to equa.life to see if we have that lab. I know we run vitamin D as part of our thyroid adrenal hormone, which is called our stress hormones, mood and metabolism test. So that's part of it. And again, remember, a good level is not 20 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. It's actually 50 to 70. So that's where you want to be. And again, if you're working with a healthcare practitioner and you want to get your levels to an 80 or above because you're fighting something like in your immune system, then of course that's your prerogative to work with your practitioner on that. So what I would say is, I don't think you're going to get much more than a month out of that, but it possibly could be. And the only way to know is to test. All right, Gabe is up. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I was curious what your thoughts are on detoxing after surgery. I just got all 4 of my wisdom teeth out, and although I didn't want to take it, I was in so much pain that I ended up taking a prescribed Vicodin for a few days. I want to keep my body healthy. I've been taking Healthy Belly every day since my tooth removal, and I'm looking to do my scheduled detox a week after my surgery when I have no more pain and I can eat normal foods. Do you think I'm on the right track? Do you have any additional recommendations to get my body back on track? I'm also going to be traveling home for Thanksgiving and I want to be ready. Okay, Gabe, happy to help. Great question. So there's a little bit of a difference. When some people have their wisdom teeth out and they do an extraction, it's usually more than just Novocaine a lot of time. A lot of times it's anesthesia, a local anesthesia or some type of sedative. And what that's going to do is it's going to burden the liver, right? So it's going to ask your liver to now have to detox all of these chemicals that were put into your body. So just like you said, I typically would give your body a couple days to get some strength back. And then you may want to do that functional medicine detox. But I'll tell you what, the week before, as well as when you go into it, you can be using the immunity protocol. You might not be able to use the omega-3s because they're a blood thinner, so you have to speak with your dentist or doctor ahead of time. So what I would say though is you're able to do most of the daily foundation protocol. You're able to do the immunity protocol. You get your extra vitamin C in, you get your zinc in, you get your vitamin D in, so you keep that immune system boosted. Your body can do its job, what it's supposed to, because remember, it needs to clear up all that dead tissue now from the surgery. And the same thing with the Vicodin or the pharmaceuticals. Again, give yourself some time, get off of them, and then you might want to do that functional medicine detox. And I would say at the same time, I always recommend sauna. So sauna is a great thing to be able to help your body from a gentle perspective to do some detoxing on a daily basis as well. So Gabe, hopefully that was helpful. Georgie's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you so much for your podcast. It truly has helped my family and I so much. At the moment, I'm buying bottled spring water. I know it's not the best, but I can't afford a high quality filter right now. My question is, should I fill my kettle with tap water or bottled water? Is it okay to use tap given that the water is boiled before it is consumed? My second question is, what about soups? Can I use tap water or should I be using bottled spring water? Thank you so much. Great question, Georgie. All right, I want to share a couple things right now. So think about this. If you just get a glass mason jar, or you can do what my family does, and literally we buy things that come in glass jars, and you can use those as a mason jar and drink from it as well. Like we've done that quite often. So if we get some, let's say, fermented carrots or fermented beets or something like that, you can easily use that. If we get a jam from our neighbor who makes all these different nice types of jams from organic-based fruit, then we can use those little mason jars for my daughters. Like, so you can use those super easy, basically doesn't cost anything because you're just repurposing. What I would say is, getting yourself a good quality filter. So I would love you to go to stephencabral.com/podcast and just type in water filter and you'll find my shows on water filters. Or you can go to stephencabral.com/resources. I hope there's a discount code for my community. I'm not sure that there is. But if you go to the resources and you type in the filter there, you just go down. One thing we use is the Berkey filter. And yes, it's going to cost you a couple $100, okay? It is. There's no doubt about that. But if you then don't have to buy bottled water after that, well, then you're doing well. And so you can look at that as let's just say that you spent $5 a day on bottled water, or let's just make it cheaper. Let's say you spend $2 a day on bottled water. Okay, so you're looking now at what, $60 a month. So after about 3 months, you break even. And the thing about that is this, and the reason why I'm saying that is you don't want to use tap water for your soup, tap water for your ice cubes, or tap water for your tea or coffee. And the reason is that although you are boiling out bacteria and impurities that way, you're not really boiling out the heavy metals. You're keeping all that steam in, you're keeping everything in. You might be boiling out some of the chlorine, you're not boiling out all that fluoride. So I just want to share that with you, that you want to be using your bottled spring water for those coffee, tea, ice cubes, and soups as well, smoothies for sure. So just keep that in mind. And that's why a good quality water filter will save you money in the long run. And I actually have no problem with spring water. I think spring water is the very best. But I understand that it comes in a plastic bottle. And so there's issues around that. So again, I think we all have to make our best decisions. But Georgie, hopefully that answers your question. Erica's up next. Hello, like everyone always says, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all you share with us. Erica, thank you. And I really just want to take a second to let everyone know I really do appreciate, a couple maybe words or sentences that you put into a lot of these questions. And it's not mandatory. I don't want to say that, but I glaze over them sometimes because sometimes, like many of us, I'm not great with compliments, but something that I'm working on, I guess. So I just want to let you know that it really does mean a lot to me. I've said this before, but when you leave a review for this podcast, whether it be on a Spotify and iTunes, etc., I read all of them. I really do. And it's very energizing. Honestly, it's very energizing because for me, again, like I'm doing this show late at night right now because it got bumped from earlier in my day when I was able to do my recording. But it's a commitment that I've made to you, and it's a commitment that I've made to myself and my mission for what I do. And so when I read all of those reviews, it really just energizes me. And so when I look there and there's well over 1,000 5-star reviews, it means a lot. So just want to thank you for that. Appreciate it. And same for all the subscribes and likes on YouTube as well. So thank you. Okay, Erica says, I am a 36-year-old female with a 2- and 4-year-old. I was diagnosed with elevated prolactin back in 2007 when I was lactating for no apparent reason. Did an MRI with nothing amiss. I never really addressed the issue prior to children. Never had an issue getting pregnant till after my first, and my period didn't come back. Did another MRI after my first child, and it showed a 3-millimeter prolactinoma. So Eric goes on to say that she was on certain medications, and she's wondering now, what can she do to keep that prolactinoma at bay and level up my prolactin levels? I desperately do not want to go back on medication. I completed the Big 5 a few months ago, but that was when I was on the medication. So I feel like it didn't give a good outlook on where my body stands naturally when it comes to my hormones. All right, Erica, appreciate what you're saying. For those people that don't know, what a prolactinoma is. A prolactinoma basically is a small tumor, usually benign, that sits on the pituitary gland. And one thing I just wanted to add for you, Erica, and I actually lost your question, so let me pop that right back up. There we go. Is that oftentimes, not always, oftentimes, there can be a correlation with low thyroid. So I know that you said that you don't necessarily know if your hormones were where they should be when you did your Big 5 labs over at Equal Life. What I would say is every other lab, though, is going to be spot on. So you're going to look to see if there were gut issues. You're going to look to see if there were heavy metals. You're going to look to see if any of the factors that really imbalance the thyroid. And I hope that for anybody dealing with the symptoms of low thyroid or an imbalanced thyroid, that you check out the new Health Results Accelerator on rebalancing your thyroid. I really put a lot of effort into that. And it's something that I really wanted to create for all of you that's kind of like A to Z, everything that you need to know for your thyroid and how to rebalance it. So here's the thing though. Could be kidney issues, could be low thyroid, or it simply could be you've had this little tumor growing there as a 1/10 of a millimeter for many, many years, and it's just continued to grow. And maybe now it's at its point, it's going to stop and it's not going to be an issue. We never really know, right? So I've talked before about proteolytic enzymes, and I still stand by those using a product like a Florafilm or a high-level protease or a high-level serrapeptase, nattokinase. Those are all great proteolytic enzymes. I would love for you to look up, as again, I'm not providing treatment protocols, but I would love you to look up online proteolytic enzymes with tumors or proteolytic enzymes used with tumors. And you'll be able to see how to use them on an empty stomach upon waking and before bed, away from food, to be able to potentially help with issues like protein growth or tumors, etc. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think there is hope for many people out there, but also that all of your other labs do stand. You want to rebalance the body, and you're also welcome to you don't have to run all the Big 5 again, but you could run just the stress hormones mood and metabolism test to look at the adrenals, thyroid, vitamin D, etc. And of course, make sure those blood sugar levels are balanced. That'll be huge. So Erica, thank you for writing in. Appreciate you. And I hope that you continue to do well. Dexter is up. Hello, Dr. Cabral. My question is a tad sensitive, but I want to know if it's any cause for worry. Recently, over a past fortnight or so, I realize I'm not having natural nocturnal morning erections upon waking. I don't know if it's because I'm always waking up outside of REM cycle or another issue, but is this a cause for concern? I'm a fit, lean, early 30s male who uses Equilibrium supplements or those you recommend. Eats healthy plus use muscle supplements to naturally aid testosterone production like maca, ashwagandha, and some other great ones. Also, there's no issue when I'm with my fiance. I just want to know. Thanks for all you do. Okay, so Dexter, there's two ways to look at this. Over a couple days, not having an erection upon waking doesn't necessarily mean you have low testosterone or you're moving towards low testosterone. So that can be, that absolutely can be a real thing. So I just want to leave that there for a moment. And you can run your lab, and should, if this continues to be an issue, which is the stress hormones, mood, and metabolism test, and that will test your testosterone levels, and you actually run it first thing upon waking. So that's what I would do. And we would actually match up your testosterone for your age group. The other thing is, if it's just a couple days or even a week or even 2 weeks, don't worry too much about it, because here's why. The body can be under stress from virus issues, from overtraining, many reasons. And then the testosterone levels, DHEA levels potentially might start to dip a little bit. So we just want to take that into consideration. And then I always say, look at what's transpired over the previous couple weeks. Did you start a new muscle building product that then correlated with this? Or is your sleep off? And sleep is really the issue. You're not able to stay in a deeper level of sleep. So I would really look at it from that de-stress protocol: the diet, the exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotional balance, supplements, and success mindset. So again, if you're able to get an erection when you need to and you want to, well, then there's probably not an immediate issue, right? But the issue could be then suffering from lower testosterone due to some type of stress from the body, and you might want to take a look at that. But again, this may have just been a couple day issue because your body was underslept and maybe fighting off some type of virus, sickness, etc. And if that's the case, then no worries. All right. So Dexter, feel free, like I said, to run that lab if needed. And this came in on October 14th, about 3 weeks ago or so. So everything might be A-okay now. All right, Katie's up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. Thanks for this opportunity. I really appreciate your input. We welcomed a 3-year-old foster child into our family who has constant diarrhea or very loose stool. We're in the process of getting him off gluten right now. He is almost completely dairy and sugar-free. Only the meals at daycare are out of our control. Also, we know that his development has been compromised during pregnancy and while living with his parents, which might explain digestive malfunction. He gets a daily multi, probiotics, and bentonite clay, and as much fresh veggies as we can sneak in. Fruit seems to worsen this problem. Is there anything that you would recommend? Thank you so very much. I'm excited to hear your advice. Katie. All right, Katie, suspense. We're going to take a sip of tea here. All right, so let's answer this question. Could be one of two things. Well, it could be three things. So let's talk about those. First and foremost, could have a parasite, could have H. pylori, could have SIBO, some type of bacterial-based issue, all right? You would find that, and you can do this for a 3-year-old, by running a stool bacteria and parasite test. We literally just ran both of our girls' stool tests, and I'll talk about the next test we ran and the gut test. And we just ran those 2 weeks ago because I do the same basically big 5 labs for them, minus the hormones for my daughters every single year. And we do it kind of coinciding with school for them. So anyway, just wanted to share that. Again, I practice what I preach. So you want to find out if it's a parasite that would cause loose stool, H. pylori, and the stool test will show that. It's a 3-day test, essentially just when your child goes to have a bowel movement, then you can just simply collect the stool and you'll be able to get your samples. Okay, the next test, maybe it's Candida overgrowth, and that could explain why fruit and things like that seem to be an issue. And you would run a simple urine test, and that urine test is called the Candida Metabolic and Vitamins test. And the last could be, well, if your child has celiac or they really don't do well with gluten, then you need to tell daycare that this child cannot have gluten or they can't have any food sensitivities that would cause this issue. Because this is causing and exacerbating the condition in their gut. So that's one to look at. You're certainly welcome to run an IgG food sensitivity test, and that can be helpful as well. It's not going to diagnose celiac, but it will certainly look from an IgG perspective in terms of what foods are sensitivities. So there's that. And then again, if you find any of those issues with the gut, to rebalance the gut, we do the children's CBO protocol, and that could be really beneficial. So that's where I would start. I mean, again, like that's literally exactly where I would start, because we don't know what's going on with this child's gut. We don't know if they're just missing like certain strains of bacteria that we could certainly help with, but we don't know that. But running the stool test, that Candida test, and a food sensitivity test in that order is what I would do. Like if you can only afford 2, then you run the first 2 that I spoke about. All right. Well, it looks like that was our last question of the day. So appreciate everyone who wrote in for the day. Again, like, I don't know, at least for me, time flies. That was a quick 20 minutes in my opinion. But again, I appreciate you tuning in. Of course, tomorrow we'll be back with our Mindset and Motivation Monday, one of my favorite ways to start the week. Hopefully you'll join me on that show. And once again, thank you so much for being a part of this community.